Happy New Year, everyone.
Yeah,
Happy seeing you.
You're actually a bit early.
It is for me. Finish my cup of tea.
So, like you ale.
We have biscuits.
No biscuits, just lunch.
Mark, you got any team news for us? How's everybody looking?
Team news, we had a number of knocks. Game against Everton, but obviously Thomas Sarson won't be available. He's got an issue with his Achilles. We're hoping it's going to settle down and allow him to train next week, possibly, but at the moment obviously he's not available. Stevie Ireland has got tightness in his hamstring, so he won't be available tomorrow. Apart from that, we've got a couple of bumps and bruises we have to check tomorrow, but I fully expect the rest of them to be okay.
How do you approach it in terms of selection, bearing in mind your next 4 league games, Liverpool, Palace, Sunderland and United? It's a fine balancing act, we've got.
Yeah, we've got a number of obviously players that are out at the moment. Robert Hughes, Asmir Begovic, good senior players. Andy Wilkinson obviously was a big part of the squad as well. So we've got to be mindful of the options. Certainly we've got in defence positions, but we've got Ryan Shotton back from his loan period, so that gives us a little bit more flexibility. So we'll use the resources that we've got. I think in terms of the game tomorrow, we've got obviously a number of days before we play Liverpool. We play them on Sunday, so there's a little bit more time in between the games, so there's enough recovery time. So we'll see how they rock up tomorrow. If the ones that I'm going to play are okay, then we'll go strong.
Whether we're just above you in the league, yet Paul Lambert's saying the FA Cup is something at the moment he could do without. What are your sentiments?
Well, I've always said that there's only certain competitions that we possibly have a realistic chance of having a good run at, and certainly the FA Cup is one of them. I'm not sure of Paul's record in the FA Cup as a manager or as a player. From my point of view, I was fortunate enough to play in 5 cup finals and win 4 of them, and it was a fantastic experience. So why would you want to deny yourself and your club opportunity to go to a cup final? It's a marvellous occasion, something as a football person you should want to do. I think if you manage your group and you manage your squad well enough, then you can have a good run in a cup run, and you can actually help your league form as well, because I think if you're progressing in a cup competition, I think it helps and gives you confidence for league games.
I guess the fans like a cup tie and a cup run, don't they?
Yeah, I think so. There's a special atmosphere around cup time. Certainly the third round of the FA Cup is one of those special dates in the football calendar. We'll have a big crowd tomorrow. The opposition, I think, are bringing their full complement, something like 4,000 travelling supporters. So that'll create a unique atmosphere, and we're going to enjoy it.
What do you make of Leicester this season? 4 wins on the bounce recently, and obviously going well.
Yeah, they're flying at the moment. They're a good team, good options, good threat, goal threat. Got good pace in wide areas as well. So they've got goals in them, and obviously have the confidence of being at the top of the league and winning games in recent weeks. So it's not the easiest of ties we could have had. I think everybody accepts that. As a consequence, we'll pay the opposition the respect it deserves and the competition.
Nice to have a change, and after the tough Christmas that you've had with league fixtures, just a chance for the players, different atmosphere altogether. And
yeah, a little bit of, I would say so. Yeah, it's a little bit like that. We had a couple of difficult away games, obviously, and we played really well against Everton, very close to only inflicting their 2nd defeat, I think, in the Premier League. So we came very, very close. Didn't quite manage it, but took a lot of confidence from how we performed against Everton. So we'll use that to go up against Leicester, and let's see if we can progress. That's the intention. We feel we enjoyed our Capital One Cup progress. Got to a quarter final there. We didn't hamper our league form in any way, shape or form. So we'll try and do the same in the FA Cup, see how far we can go.
You personally are £8,000 worse off this week, but you've got the ability to stay on the touchline. Is that a relief to be able to watch it from the bench?
Yeah, well, I had to take my meds. It's a little bit steep, I think, for just kicking the ball on the pitch, but I accepted that it's not allowed, so I accepted the charge. But I think basically it's the standard charge that they use to make sure they cover everything. So I would suggest that I was a little bit at the low end of the scale in terms of the offences that are covered by a standard FA charge. So I have to take my medicine, unfortunately.
What did you make of David Bernstein's comments this week? Because again, he was making specific reference to managers' behaviour on the touchline.
Well, I think what Richard Bevan, the League Managers Association chief executive, has come out with, I just reiterate every word that he said. I think he made all the points that I could make, and probably made them better than I could as well. So I'd refer you to his statement.
And can you give us an insight into what it is like in terms of pressure and all that focus that you have to have on the bench as to what leads to incidents like that?
Well, it's difficult. There's huge sways back and to in terms of emotion and how the ebb and flow of the game affects you in terms of the emotion that you have and the desire that you have to see fair play and make sure that you're competing and working hard. There's so many elements to a game in terms of what you're exposed to, so it's difficult. Human nature is a thing that on occasions your emotions can get the best of you. And football managers aren't immune to that. I think the paying public go to games and get emotionally involved, and managers have a specific role, obviously, and we're very conscious more than most about our behaviour, because there's managers' cams and cameras from wide angles and quite far away, so you know that the focus is on you from the first minute to the last. But listen, we're emotionally involved. If we weren't emotionally involved, we'd be criticised for being detached from the events on the pitch, so you can't have it both ways. Do
you make a conscious effort to try and keep a lid on your emotions?
I think it's difficult to do that. Yeah, you have to, because you're aware of your standing in the game and the fact that people won't let you get away with anything. But at the end of the day, you've got to be emotionally involved in your team and the events on the pitch. If you're not, then that detachment will alienate you from your public.
Among other issues this week, Sandro, you had one or two comments to say about him and his response to Charlie's situation. Can you just explain your thoughts on him?
Well, I think I was told that he said something on his Twitter account. I don't think that's helpful. There's no need for it. I think in terms of what he said or his intention, I think we were unhappy really that Charlie's playing history and recent games against Spurs was brought up, I think, by Spurs themselves. I thought that was a little bit surprising. So they were trying to make a point in terms of trying to get Charlie into trouble when, if you look at the tackle, the referee was only 10 yards away from it and said that he hadn't seen it, which was disappointing. But I think it was unhelpful in terms of what the lad said, and we don't need that. And I just made the point. I think he has to be careful what the FA might look at that situation.
Transfer window's open, of course. Any news on ins and outs? Wilson's been linked with a move away. Any news on any departure?
Well, that's news to me. I read a little bit about that in the paper, but there's been no contact, not as far as I'm aware. A little bit of news is Jamie Nestor's gone out on loan, but at the moment we don't anticipate anybody else. Ryan Shot, as I said, has come back, so we'll wait and see. It's very early. We're trying to do business early if we can, because I think that will help us. But we'll see how we go. But as you know, we're sometimes dictated to. The pace of a deal being concluded is dictated by other people, not ourselves.
John Guidetti is a name that you've been linked with as well at Manchester City. Any chance of a loan move?
We'll look at all things. We'll look at permanent deals, short-term deals, loan deals if we can. There's a lot of names flowing around at this time, so you have to be careful about saying yeah or nay to ones that are thrown at you. So when we feel we're very close, when the pen is actually in the player's hand, then we'll let you know, because up to that point you can't guarantee anything.
Strike is still a big priority for you?
Well, yeah, I've said that for a long time now. We will try to get some more quality into the final third, and into the strikers that we have to add to the good strikers we've got. We tried to do it in the summer, we weren't able to do it. We'll try again. They have to be the right quality, and they have to be players that can come in and make an impact for us.
Is it one of those awkward situations where the longer the month goes on and you haven't got anybody in, you may be forced into a move?
Well, only if they can improve us and help us. It's not a case of just getting players in for players' sake. There's no point in doing that. I've got good squad players here. I don't need to add to the group in terms of numbers. My numbers are okay, but I just need players that can come in, make an impact, and help us from now to the end of the season.
Thank you.
Mark, is there a chance of completing a deal for Stephen Ireland in this window, getting him permanently?
We're trying to do something with Stephen if we can. I know we've had discussions with his people, and I've spoken to Stephen myself, so I think there's a willingness on both sides to get something done, but like I said, nothing's been agreed formally yet, but certainly I think the intention is that they're to try and do something if we can.
Yeah, you hinted there about with the Charlie Adam, the comments by Spurs that maybe some action might be taken. Is that something that you'll be sort of putting to the FA, or?
I think our view is that sometimes you just can't allow things without responding. I think I'm not absolutely certain as yet, but I think certainly we as a club will respond to what's happened in recent days.
Because the danger, I guess, is that Charlie could be somebody that referees haven't sort of think about, that that he's part.
No, that's questioning the integrity of referees, and I would never do that.
Just going back to the FA Cup, with Wigan winning last year, do you think that maybe would make a lot of teams think that maybe if you have put out weakened sides in the past, that winning it isn't impossible?
No, it's certainly not impossible. And I think if you look at the third round draw, there's a number of Premier League teams playing each other, so a number of teams will go out this round. So we don't want to be one of the Premier League teams that go out. I think if we can navigate these early rounds and get through them, then towards the end of the competition, you might find there's not that many Premier League teams left in. Who knows? But the reverse of that might be the case. They might just rise to the top, and you'll find a very strong quarter-final and semi-final, like we found in the Capital One Cup. But we'll try and get through the early rounds and see where it takes us.
What's the latest on Robert?
Robert's doing okay. He actually joined in. We didn't do a lot of work this morning. Obviously, we were still recovering and recuperating. But he joined in the warm-up and joined in a couple of boxes. So we're pleased with his progress. Hopefully, early next week, he'll be able to join in with the main group.
So it might be okay for the next Premier League.
It might be a little bit too soon for him to actually play, but certainly I would like to think he'd be in full training by the time the Liverpool game comes around.
And on the goalkeeping situation, might you bring somebody else in there?
We have to wait on Thomas at the moment just to get a real understanding of the extent of his injury. If he's likely to be out for a number of weeks and months, we probably have to look at bringing somebody in. But for the weekend, young Dan Bachmann will be on the bench, and Jack will play.
Thank you.
Mark, okay. Just on the transfer window again, you said you need a striker. Is there any truth for rumours you're looking at Shane Long for West Brom?
But once again, there's a lot of rumours about names or whatever. You throw names at me, I won't say yes or no. It's like I said, until I'm definite that somebody's going to be walking through the door with a Stoke City shirt on, I don't like to really comment on individual names because I don't think that's right. But we're active. We're trying to bring good players to the club if we can. It's not easy, I keep saying it, but we're certainly looking to add to the group because I think it will stimulate the group as well, and I think new faces just give everybody a lift around the place.
Talking of Twitter, Robert Hughes tweeted this week that sexy football has returned to Stoke as he's back in training. I can't see the connection between sexy football and Robert Hughes, maybe you can. But it's obviously good to have him back, but will you now be sort of thinking of bringing in another central defender as cover for Shawcross and Hughes?
No, I don't think that's my intention. I think we've all been delighted with Mark Wilson's performances while Robert's been out. I think that's an area we have to look at. Certainly not in the January window. It's not a priority because obviously Robert hopefully will be coming back bigger, faster, stronger. So it's something maybe in the summer we'll look at the balance of the squad, and if we feel we need to cover all eventualities, then maybe we'll look at it again. But certainly it's not my intention to go into the market in January for a central defence.
Now, did you say that you've got a substitute keeper for tomorrow? Who is it again?
Dan Bachman.
What's his background?
He's a young player we've got a lot of confidence in. He's done really well. He's been with the senior group for a number of weeks now, and he's been warming the goalkeepers up prior to games, next to Thomas and Asmir. We feel he's got a future, so I have no qualms putting him on the bench. I think he's a good young keeper and one for the future.
How's Asmir coming along? How's his injury?
Yeah, he's back. He's back at the club now. We give him a few days off because obviously there wasn't a great deal of work he could do. But he's going to, I think, early next week he'll be trying different casts, and I think he's getting his gloves modified so that he can start training hopefully, or we'll know that when he does start training, then the splint's okay. And it's just a case of kind of really understanding what level of pain he can deal with. Once his pain threshold is sufficient to allow him to play, then he'll put his hand up, I'm sure.
A photoshop at Solskjaer, sorry, Ollie. You and him cross paths at Old Trafford? I can't remember.
No, we didn't. I wish him well. It's a good opportunity for him. I think he's been well thought of, and I think it was only a matter of time before he was given an opportunity, because he's done some good work obviously in his work in Norway. So he's got a good pedigree. He knows the Premier League as well. You'll find it a little bit different from Norwegian football, I'm sure, but he's an intelligent guy who'll understand that himself. But I wish him well.
Thank you. Cheers.